Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Alfonso Barrera. I am the founder of Hispanic Pro. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are very happy that you're here with us. This is our webinar number 30 for this year since the whole pandemic. So I feel very grateful that we were able to hit 30 and that we were able to continue with the programming that Hispanic Pro does. We couldn't finish off or continue the year doing the programming in person, bringing it to everyone, doing it virtually. It's just as good. The knowledge base that's shared, the experiences, the insights, it all translates through here, through our computers, or whether you're on your mobile phone. The reason I wanted to pick this topic during a job search during the holidays, I wanted to bring together a group of subject matter experts that can give us some insight in regards to looking for a new job, or maybe looking to make a pivot and go into a whole different industry, but also what can we do that's tactful, that's strategy wise. And right now is the perfect time to look for a job, because recruiters are hiring. There's people that are taking time off right now, in which case it's the perfect time to search. So as always, I want to start off with some opening remarks. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the global economy and people's lives has been devastating. It's uncertain times like these that remind us that family time is important, especially over the holidays. In December, job seekers at every professional level are often tempted to put their career search on hold because they think, who hires in December? The fact is, a lot of hiring can happen in December, as companies have budgeted for positions for the new year and are eager to get them filled in order to have someone working right away. If you get noticed in December, you have an advantage over others who take a holiday break or are waiting until January to initiate a job search. I want to thank our panelists, as they represent a distinct set of values and insight that make them subject matter experts in recruitment and workforce development, and have taken precious time of their busy day to share their insight and knowledge with us this afternoon. Let's meet our featured guests. We have Myriam Del Angel, who is a human resource manager for PwC. We have Samuel Garcia, who is a senior customer service manager at LinkedIn. Melisa Godinez, who's a talent acquisition manager at Echo Global Logistics. And Alberto Ortega, who is director of workforce strategy and business engagement at the Office of the Mayor for the City of Chicago. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And we can get started by just answering the question, what do you do and what is the primary function of your position? Let's start off with Myriam.
Hi, everyone. As Alfonso said, my name is Myriam Del Angel. I'm an HR manager on the talent team for PricewaterhouseCoopers, or PwC. In my role, I'm an interesting team where there's highly skilled HR professionals, where we work cross lines from tax to audit to advisory to internal services. And we go where we're needed in any HR function, as an HR business partner, to recruiting, to strategy, to communications, to diversity, the whole gamut. So I've been with the firm about 3 years, and it's great to be here.
Thank you, Myriam. Next, Samuel Garcia.
Yeah, thanks, Alfonso, for having us on the panel. Name is Samuel Garcia. I'm a senior customer success manager at LinkedIn. Been there for a little over 4 years now, and I think the best way to describe what my role is at the company, because everyone always asks me, what does a success manager do? We have a lot of different customers, enterprise customers, that purchase access and products through LinkedIn, and it's my goal to make sure that when they initially come in, that they're finding value, that they see the success out of the investment that they're putting in, and when it comes, time to spend more, do more, renew, align on areas or key objectives, that they feel supported. So I'm really there as a true customer advocate through the entire process, from starting with our company as a business to figuring out where they want to go and the growth after that. So it's a really exciting opportunity that I get to add to partner with businesses like that at LinkedIn.
Thank you, Samuel. And Alberto.
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you for the introduction. I work in the Office of the Mayor as the Director of Workforce Strategy and Business Engagement. And in my role, I help to actually work with a number of diverse stakeholders in education and workforce development, which consists of our 7 city colleges, our public workforce system, the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, and of course, the service providers that help people prepare for, find, and get jobs. So thank you for the opportunity to join and look forward to the discussion today.
Thank you, Alberto. Let's continue. So it can be hard to manage a job search during the holidays. For some people, it's easier to focus on the holiday season than the job hunt. What tips do you recommend to job seekers for a successful holiday job search? And let's start with someone.
Yeah, so this one's actually, I feel like I've been doing this a lot because we have a lot of our customers who are trying to figure out what they can do for individuals that are coming in and or leaving the company. But then you put yourself on the opposite end, right? What about those who are actually looking for businesses or companies to get into? And I think the same applies right now. Generally, what we see is there's a workforce report that LinkedIn puts out. But we typically see around the December and January timeframe, there are a ton of different what they call decision makers, people who are maybe director, VP, C-suite, that are typically changing jobs during this time. And I think it's important, right? December and January is critical for them who are in those key areas or those key roles. For me as a job seeker or someone who's trying to get the attention of someone that I maybe admire that's in a company or just get the attention in general of that business, this is a perfect opportunity to start paying attention to what's actually happening, specifically even on LinkedIn, but just in general, like what's happening with that business and what's happening with the individuals that work at that business. Are they also changing jobs? Are there new individuals that are taking their roles, right? So if someone that I got connected with decided to leap and take a different role or job, is there anyone else that I've built a relationship with? And so right now it's a crucial opportunity or an important opportunity to look, number one, look at the businesses that you care the most about and say like, I'd love to work there. Who are the people that work there? Who are those who, may be an influencer for your role to get you into, an introduction into someone, and then see what's actually happening, what's shifting, right? Are they changing jobs? Did they get a promotion? All those things can serve as, let's call them triggers that help you just stay in the know for those businesses. So it's as simple as just me saying, I'm looking at a list of the businesses or the companies. I'm staying informed as to what's actually happening and the changes that are happening inside of that company. And where could I begin to establish new relationships and or tap into those that I already have. So that would be a good starting point for me.
Great, thank you. Alberto.
Yeah, so with respects to devising a strategy for how to achieve your end goal, which is obtaining a job, I start with 3 questions. Who am I? Which gets at identity, right, as a person. And that could be perceived as both personal, but also professional. Where do I want to go, right? What type of field do I want to get in? And then how do I get there? For me, it's all about strategy and mapping the steps that would enable you to achieve your goal, right? And the end goal, and then walk back to, from the back to the front with that in mind. So it's always, for me, it's always about strategy. Who am I? Where do I want to go? And how do I get there? And that looks different for each sector, right? If you look at sectors as a potential means of identifying opportunities. The other thing that was mentioned by Samuel actually hit a note with me, and that's influencer network. You have a number of influencers that are, in addition to oneself, right? You have someone like Myriam Delangel on the call, who happens to be one of 20 Latinas featured in Latinas Rising Up in HR, a book that was recently published by a colleague of mine, actually a colleague of ours, Priscilla Guaso. So I actually participated in that live Facebook book launch. And that call, I believe, put together about 300 individuals, all who I would consider influencers. So the point there is, there's all these opportunities such as this today, this webinar hosted by you, Alfonso, and Hispanic Pro. Use these opportunities as ways to connect to folks you already know, sure, but also to broaden your network and to grow your influencer network. And then find ways to connect with people that can offer opportunities or information on opportunities that are in alignment with your goals.
Thank you. Myriam.
I agree with both Alberto and Samuel. One big thing is research, right? Research where you want to go, what you want to do, and also stay in the know of your industry, right? When you do reach out to individuals, you might know something that's going on within that industry, within that company. So when you do reach out to people, it's not just a blind reach out. There's a purpose and there's a goal to achieve within that reach out, and spread the net, right? Just talk to everyone that you can, really talk through what you want to do and understand this might be what you think you want to do. And then when you actually speak with someone who actually does it, it might not be the same. So really just have an open mind and be yourself.
Yeah, so sometimes it's like the shiny object, right? We want it, but then it's like once you hear someone that's in that position, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I should stay where I'm at and plan to move into a different area.
Yes.
So now we have Melisa who joined us. Melisa, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit of what are you doing? What's the primary function of your position?
Yeah, so I'm a talent acquisition manager for Echo Global Logistics. So what I do is my team is in charge of the sales organizations for Echo. So we have an office in Chicago, our headquarters, and we have 30 offices within the U.S. So my team is in charge of like recruiting talent for our sales organization. So that's like all of the sales positions. We do have operational roles too that support our sales reps, and we have leadership positions as well. So my company's definitely hiring right now. Logistics is a great industry to be in overall. We weren't really affected by the pandemic. So I'm happy to be here and like share more information about helping everybody with a job search.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then, if you can answer the question, it can be hard to manage a job search during the holidays. For some people, it's easier to focus on the holiday season than that is for a job hunt. What tips do you recommend for job seeking for a successful holiday job search?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend to like get started now. You don't want to wait till like the new year. So that's the issue with what we see. Like right now it slows down. It tends to slow down because of the holidays. But then once January 1st hits, that's when everybody wants to start applying. So then we get like so many applications. So then it's harder for you to stand out, right? So then you have to think about different ways. So how can I stand out? How can my application stand out, right? So you want to reach out to the recruiters like via LinkedIn or like, sending that company an email. So you really need to put yourself out there more if you wait. So I would just say like get started now. A lot of companies are hiring. And if you apply now, you're going to put yourself first in line versus when we get like hundreds of applications that come in like after January 1st because people want to start fresh in a new company. So definitely do it now.
Yeah, and that's something that we can't stress enough, right? That do it now because otherwise you're just competing against everyone else. Did the same thing, which was, and that doesn't mean that you can't strike a balance of spending some family time, but also just carving out some time to do the job search, to submit your resume, to send in your cover letter, and to do all that work, and it's going to pay off. It's going to help you out quite a bit.
Alfonso, I do want to add that though you are applying now, make sure that when you do apply, that you're strategic about it. You look at the job and you cater your resume to that role, because as Melisa mentioned, they see so many resumes. So you really want to make sure that yours stands out and it really aligns with what the role you're applying to.
Yeah, I saw somewhere that if a hiring manager actually gets to see your resume, they glance over it for like 6 seconds. So can you imagine that? It's like it's 6 seconds you have to capture their attention. So the next question: this year the traditional Christmas party is out, but for job seekers, the need to make new connections is more important than ever. What are some ways to virtually network and get connected? Sammy.
Yeah, so I like this question a lot, but I'm going to double click on something that Myriam said that I think will answer this as well as provide just a little bit more info. When you are looking at some of the roles that you might be interested in, you said something about, the shiny object, Alfonso kind of alluding to what she was saying. A lot of times we're searching and we're finding and we're seeing these roles and we're saying, wow, that role sounds amazing. It sounds awesome. It sounds like they probably love their job. And you would be surprised that there are so many people who are literally open right now to telling people about their role, about their job. And it's as simple as, if I send either a personalized message, like, I think sometimes, just being transparent can be the best way to get connected with people. And like, to answer the question around, the e-networking or getting connected, that's probably a good way. If you are building your strategy, if you're trying to figure out of, a ton of companies and businesses that are in my city, which ones are the ones that I really want to work for? And then what are some of the roles that I maybe have experience in, or I'm getting close, or maybe I've got those soft skills that are enough to get me into the door. I can imagine that if you start to just, send messages, there are people I'm just going to use LinkedIn because I feel like it makes sense me being there. If you don't know this, there are individuals who have what is called an open profile. And an open profile means that they are willing to receive messages from you. And anyone who has an open profile is because they've actually done it on purpose. They're probably willing to talk to people, coach people, mentor people, really help you figure out, like, is this the path that you want to get into? There are some people who are even out there interested in being a coach for someone, right? They'll put it on their profile. So it's pretty easy to find those individuals on even the mobile app and start building that relationship. But again, if you're looking at those businesses and you're looking at those roles, there are many people inside of those roles. I get asked a ton, hey, I want to learn more about what a customer success manager does on a day-to-day basis. Can you tell me about it? I've taken a number of calls. It could be 15 minutes, could be 30 minutes. And some people are like, yep, that's not what I want to do. Or they then say, oh, wow, okay, what do I need to figure out in order to get closer to getting that type of a role? So there's downtime. Maybe you can balance a couple of things and send a couple of messages, and people might not get to them now, but in the new year, they're going to be re-energized, and they're going to want to come to, help people who are seeking for potential opportunities.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, there's people that are open to helping other folks. It doesn't matter that it's a cold call, but on LinkedIn, but some people don't mind it. They actually welcome it, and they have that sense of wanting to help folks out, in which case, take advantage of it. And Latinos, I think we're proud in that sense, and that we don't like to ask for help. But when you're looking for a job, you've been laid off or whatever, you can't be too proud. Yeah, you have to take the help that anyone is willing to give you. Alberto.
You set up the question. I was looking at
Yeah,
your list.
absolutely. No.
Thank you.
What
Appreciate
are
it.
some ways to virtually network or to get connected?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the example I listed when I referenced Priscilla Guaso. I remember seeing the promos for it. And just as, an example that pops up. And I actually reached out to Priscilla, who is the co-author, one of many co-authors of this Latinas Rising Up in HR book. And so I reached out to her.
We did our last webinar with Priscilla.
Yes.
Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
I think I missed that one, sorry. But it was an opportunity for me to reconnect with an old colleague who I had worked with. So I worked with Priscilla side by side at different diversity inclusion events when I was in corporate, and she was with the Hyatt, I believe. Anyhow, so I used that as an opportunity to reach out. I just inquire with her about trends and recruitment. And it was a good, I want to say, healthy 30, 45-minute discussion that we were able to connect and reminisce on old times, but really just homing on these trends that she's closest to than I, right? So I like to reach out to people who I consider, in this case, Priscilla, as a subject matter expert and someone I can glean input for her insights from.
Got it. So then even if you go through her book and look up every author, and I wouldn't say stalk them, right? But look them up on LinkedIn and ask them for
we welcome that. We do. As one of the co-authors, we do welcome people reaching out to us to really help with anything we can do, right?
There you go. Oh, well, continue, elaborate. You're the next one.
Well, like Alberto and Samuel had mentioned, I think it's really important to make those connections really with individuals who might have a bigger networking group. Also attend webinars such as yours, Alfonso, attend industry forums. Organizations are key, especially within what you're looking at to do. So for me, I look at SHRM because it's HR. and really look at what they're doing, what events are happening, right? I had mentioned this earlier. You really need to know what's going on in your industry. It's very, very important as times have changed, especially with technology, that you really need to know what's going on, especially if you're going somewhere and they expect you to know those things. But, just to recap, really just going out there and connecting with people and asking questions. People, you mentioned it before, people might get laid off, and, being proud Latinos, it's a little tough, but we've all been there. I've gotten laid off in the past, and you learn from that, and you just, you keep going, and, you just keep swimming. So it's really important.
You just touched on a point that resonated, Myriam, and that is, orgullo. And while that is a strength in the Latino culture, it also could serve to prevent us from reaching out for help. And we got to get beyond that, because, I know I have orgullo, and I've been in places where I didn't reach out for help. But I did have a circle of, say, compadres or comadres, right? This tightly knit group that I trust, right? And I felt
support group.
I felt okay with them, being vulnerable. But orgullo is something, if we have those amigas, amigos that we know, reach out to them and just try to empathize, because each of us have been there, right? We've been unemployed, right? Fault or no fault of our own. It's important to recognize that we have friends that have great qualifications and are looking for work, but may not want to reach out to you. So take it upon yourself to acknowledge that, right? But say, hey, I'm here. Aquí estoy para ayudarte, apoyarte.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you, Alberto. Melisa, what are some ways to virtually network and get e-connected?
Yeah, I would definitely say I agree with what everybody's saying. Like, just joining like webinars, kind of like this one. There's so many webinars out there to help somebody like in a job search, or kind of like someone said with LinkedIn. I get messages all the time on LinkedIn. Because I see that I'm a manager, and they would if they apply for a position, they reach out to me just to get connected with me and tell me about their interest. So that really makes somebody stand out. If you're taking that initiative, sending that LinkedIn message, I always try to help people. Or during this pandemic, I ask people if you want me to review your resume, please send it over. There's so many people that are willing to help, as long as you at least send that message. You could have somebody review your resume. You could chat with somebody on LinkedIn that you're interested in that company. Just pick their brain for 10 minutes. It'll get you a long way, and then it'll show me that you're taking the initiative. So then, I would consider you to do a phone interview with me because you took that initiative, right? So that's something to really look forward and look for. And then I would just say just right now virtually, a lot of webinars, and once things go back to normal, I recommend a lot of networking events. That's something that I used to do a lot. And it got me to where I am today, because, going to networking events, meeting different people. So definitely networking events. I know Hispanic Pro I met before I worked at Echo, I was at Farmers Insurance. I was trying to get into recruiting. I didn't have experience. I was in banking sales for 5 years. I went to a Hispanic Pro networking event. And I met Eric, who was a consultant at Farmers Insurance, and he was more than willing to help me. And I'm like, wow, he doesn't even know me, and he wants to help me. I was just surprised, but it's Latinos want to help Latinos. So yes, use these events to your advantage, because we all want to help each other, right? Like everybody said, we've been through it, and we just want to help everybody get better. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Recruiters are there to help you. We get excited when somebody's like, oh, can you review your resume? Or can you give me tips on for an interview? I'm happy to help my friends and family when they're looking for a job. So I would just say, just don't be afraid, and don't let your pride get to you either, because everybody's going through a hard time these days. So stay positive.
Definitely. And I remember seeing you in the pictures from I know which networking event you're talking about. So
yeah,
I remember that. And
I want to add something to that,
Sure.
Alfonso. I think networking events are very important, but at the same token, I think when you do attend networking events, that you go in with a plan and a purpose. I've met a lot of young people who've attended these events, and just being there, you need to do more than that, just attending. You need to talk to people. And I know it's very hard for some people to be open and work a room. And I think that's a very important skill set that people need to learn, especially if you're attending the events, because as I mentioned, being at the events, being in pictures and doing that, it really is not doing anything for you. unless you have connections and you talk to people and you walk away with knowing, not only learning who's who or the industry or what they're talking through, but walking away with at least one person that you're going to connect and just follow up on. I think that's very important.
Yeah, and there's definitely a strategy when it comes to how to network. So so there's definitely a strategy behind it, and it's going in there, talking to someone for 3 minutes and then moving on to the next person, and obviously having cocktails, but being careful with it, right? Because
Sure.
the cocktails, many people are looking forward to that because they've had a long day, and it makes it easier to talk to people, right? You have something in your hand, so you it's a conversation piece. It's a way to start a conversation, but definitely keep in mind that you're going to move on and talk to the next person, and then there's also ways of cutting off from people that are taking too much of your time, right? That are then probably start talking about things that maybe should be left to the next conversation, maybe a follow-up call or so. And then in which case it's like you could always break away and say, oh well, I gotta hit the washroom, so there you can make a clean break and move on, and yes, do go to the bathroom, but then come back and go a different route and start talking to other people in the room. So there's definitely strategies on how to network so that so you can do it effectively, and you can walk out with with business cards. And well I don't know how it's going to happen now, right, because of the world we live in, but to Melissa's point also, that we will get back to doing the in-person networking events, but it has to be in a safe environment. It has to be once the majority of what's going on now has blown over, and it's because it has to be accepted not only by us as people, as professionals, but also our employers. Our employers have to feel confident about sending workers to external activities, and that they're going to be there safe. And so I am. It's one of the things that I think about all the time, that I do want to get back to it, and I think people need it. There's nothing like in-person networking, but it's going to take time. And just right now I'm targeting for July, but July could always be pushed back to maybe September, October. So more than anything, our health and our safety is what's most important.
So I actually have a question, and hopefully I don't derail the questions that you have, but I'm curious about something, and maybe Melisa and Myriam can help with this, because we were talking about a specific topic, but then I'm wondering, like, are there best practices from an HR or recruiting perspective? So if I put myself in someone's shoes, right, I'm looking for a job, I see a job, I apply to it, and I'm like, oh, this is great, and I want to go one step further, right? And Melisa, you talked about this. If I'm that person that's submitting that said, yes, I want to apply, I put my resume, I'm sharing my LinkedIn profile, what's a good best practice? Like, what stands out as a recruiter, as someone in HR, if someone messages you directly? Like, what's the thing that you're like, yes, this person gets it? Like, I don't know if you guys can elaborate on that.
Yeah, I would say, like, the messages that I get, like, when they reach out and they're like, oh, I applied for the position, I'm super interested in Echo as a company, and I would really want to be considered for this role. I would love to speak to you for like 5 minutes or something. Like, any message that tells me like they're excited about the position, like, and they applied, I'm like, oh, okay, like, perfect. I'm gonna connect you with the recruiter, and I'm gonna have my recruiter screen you now, right? It just takes that one message for them to like stand out, because it just shows that they took initiative, right? Versus other people that just apply and your applications are sitting. Like, we get so many applicants sometimes that it's hard to get to everybody, right? So if you don't stand out, like, you have to take that initiative. Or some people even literally call like our call center, and then they get transferred into recruiting, or then they send an email to like recruiting at Echo, and like they're like, oh, I'm just really interested in this role, I haven't heard from your team, like, I would love to be a part of this team. Like, emails like that really stand out, because they went above and beyond to like get in contact with recruiting, right? So it's like, I love people like that. Like, well, we have to screen that person. So like you have at least a screen, and then it's up to you now to like see how that goes, and then get the in-person interview, and then move forward in the process. So taking initiative for sure is number one.
To add to that, I think a big challenge though is that a lot of the companies, maybe like the Amazons or the Facebooks or Googles of the world, they don't usually put who the recruiter is, right? Because you can imagine how many people are reaching out to those individuals. I think a workaround for that would be if the recruiter's not listed, like Melisa, you can reach out to her and share that you're interested. Look who in your network works at that company, at that organization, and reach out to that individual and just say, hey, I noticed an open opportunity, would love to talk to somebody about it. And I would say, 9 times out of 10, those individuals will follow up internally and share your interest with the recruiter, or, it's easy internally to find out who the recruiter is for those roles, and maybe send an email. But definitely look at your network, look at who works there, and do an introduction and show your interest. And maybe within the introduction say, I read this, that your company's doing this, and I'm very interested in that, and I have this skill set who can help you get to where you need to be. I think it's very important, because I'm sure, Melisa, you get a lot of people reach out to you. I know when I was in recruiting at Microsoft, I would just get so many reach outs, and it's hard. You need to balance that, right? Because what they can present, you have to balance it with what the business need is, or what the hiring manager is looking for as well.
Thank you, Myriam. And actually, that's part of one of the questions going down the line. So let's continue. Personal branding is what sets you apart. It's what makes you more hireable and more likable than someone with similar qualifications. If you're in the running for a new job, you will be Googled. What advice do you have for job seekers who are working on their personal brand online? And let's start with you, Myriam.
I think it's important to be part of organizations, right? But not just to sign up for one, because I know it's very easy just to sign up for, say, Alpha or ASE or what have you, but to actually attend those events, learn, from them, and not just to have it on your resume is very important. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Alfonso, to attend webinars and things like that, where maybe you're mentioned, or you create things. Like for me personally, I was co-author of the Latinas Rising Up in HR. So if you Google, you'll probably find me there. So things like that to really help you stand out within your industry, and just be in the know, and maybe, participate even in webinars, for you might have a skill set that people might want to learn from, and your name can get out there that way as well.
Yeah, and I would say don't be shy, and just reach out to the organizers, like myself, the people that put them together, and say, hey, I'm a subject matter expert in this field, and I want to get my name out there. And I always welcome that. And actually, I find that kind of like what Melisa was going to, is that, it says something about you, right? That you're taking the initiative, you're taking it one step further. So that's always good. That you can only benefit from that. It's never, I never see it as something that, that's negative. It's always positive. Alberto.
Yeah, first, do Olympia. We're familiar with that term. But this is one that you can all do. You do not have to hire anyone. What do I mean by that? Well, we're going to be Googled, right? To your point, Alfonso. So we need to do Olympia. We need to review all content that's digital, that is representative of us in our absence. What do I mean? Insta, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Keep it to those. Look at what you post. Ask some of your compadres, right? Comadres, your inner circle. Hey, what do you think of my post? Right? Do you think I'll get a negative perception by an HR recruiter? Yes, no, maybe so. So do the Olympia, do that scrub, especially if you're in government. You might like posting food, if you're a foodie, or pictures of your favorite cerveza, your chela, but tone it down, or share those only with your closest friends. So again, do the Olympia. And then 2, Myriam, a renowned diversity and inclusion consultant, Myriam, post in the comment box, connect to these companies and their respective ERGs with respects to Latino or African American, whatnot, and connect with the ERG leadership. Do Olympia and build up your network through other networks.
I know that if you just do a little bit of the work, you'll find out who are the head of those ERGs, and because I've done that myself, and they're all welcoming of a message. It's like I always find it's better to just go to the source. Because it eliminates the steps in between, and also it gets you on that route quicker.
Yeah. So here's something else that you shared that resonates with me, Alfonso. and I think it was something that Myriam touched on, and perhaps Samuel as well. And that is, how do you stand out? How do you differentiate yourself from the pack, right? We're very communal, but right, you got to compete at the end of the day. So who gets the job? How do you get it? There's an opportunity again in this call to identify the need. How do you set yourself? You mentioned the adage of, it takes 6 seconds for a recruiter to determine if they move you forward in the process or not. Well, therein lies the opportunity on this call to identify the challenge, right? Which is, how do you look good on paper? How do you set yourself apart from others? Maybe you can put out the request in the chat and say, hey, we're going to have another session in the future on how to put together a nice resume to stand apart. This is a challenge, but also as an opportunity to bring forth, right, other people that are subject matter experts in that area.
Great, thank you. Samuel.
I think that the two easiest things, I'll just give you guys like the tips from what we share at LinkedIn. I think the two easiest things is, there's a way when you upload your picture on LinkedIn's profile where you can actually label your image. And many people miss out on something so basic, so easy, but you can literally label your image on LinkedIn to your first and last name so that your name is actually searchable and that it goes directly to your professional profile. So that's the first thing. If you didn't know that, make sure you go and edit the name of your profile picture on LinkedIn. The second thing is, hashtags aren't going away. Like when they started, people are like, is this going to stick? Is it going to really play out? And I think that right now hashtags are associating what you want to be known for, right? And then many people will hashtag their own name. Many people will hashtag something that they're creating. And so those two things right there can be pretty basic, but they're very easy because they will stay with you over the course of how you're growing in your personal career and the things that you want to be associated with. So if there's something that you're building, hashtagging your name, doing that rebranding on LinkedIn, it will stick with you and it'll be carried over for many years to come. And then I would also probably take a step back. There are some of us who are trying to do that now, and we've got our established careers, but there are some who are trying to enter into the workforce, and for them, they're like, well, I don't really have a work history behind me. So what could I do? Internships is a great way. And inside of those internships, try to get as many opportunities as you potentially can. And a lot of it is just raising your hand. Hey, can I do that? Hey, yes, I'd love to be a part of that. Whether it's paid or not, I've done unpaid internships in the past. And I just literally did it because I wanted to show them that I had the skills to do it. And as a result, it got me introduced to somebody, and a handshake later, I had a different opportunity come up. So if you're long seasoned in the workforce, take advantage of that. If you're just getting started, internships, hashtags, the profile, all that stuff still applies.
Yeah, and one thing that Alberto had mentioned is doing the limpia. Once you do your limpia, your social media, I always like to remind people that when people search you, your LinkedIn profile is probably going to be the first thing that comes up when they search you on Google. So if you want people to find out more about you, keep your LinkedIn profile, optimized to the best of what you could possibly can, and put everything up. It should be updated, at least once a month, and I think that you should always just be looking at it and see maybe there's things that you can move around, or maybe there's some things that are more relevant than others. And one thing is also opportunities to volunteer. Always put those on there, because volunteerism is very big. And it says something about you. It says what you do with your free time when you're not working. And that's just as important. Melisa.
Yeah, this is a question. So this number, like my hiring managers, I coach them to not Google people. Like that's something that we're like very against in HR, because like we think like that's gonna create bias. So you should never Google somebody before interviewing them. That's something that we try to preach to them. Of course, doesn't mean they're gonna listen, right? So like, you guys have said, like, clean up your social media accounts. If you're looking for a job, your social media should be private, because honestly, the hiring manager shouldn't be doing that regardless, but they might. And if they do, then your page should be private. So I definitely think like LinkedIn is, I love LinkedIn and I'm a big believer in it. So I think it's like a great investment to just get like a professional picture, because sometimes what I see when I'm like sourcing for candidates on LinkedIn, like they have like selfies or they have like filters on like their LinkedIn photo. I'm like, come on, this is LinkedIn. It's professional. You should not have a selfie. You should not have filters on your LinkedIn profile. We do look at that. So it's like, that should be your priority. Like invest in like a professional picture, and put that on your LinkedIn, and just like somewhere said, like link that to your picture so then they could search you, And then that's another thing, like when I have candidates that actually put their URL for LinkedIn, I always look at their LinkedIn, because I love to see, like, did they really take their time on LinkedIn? Did they create a bio? Did they put like their skills? Do they have recommendations on there? So that's something I always look at. So that's like the advice that I would give is like making sure that your LinkedIn is up to par, because recruiters will look at LinkedIn. It's like, it's an easy click. Instead of like reading down a resume, you could just go on somebody's LinkedIn and like read about their experience and like what they bring to the table. So I definitely think, and asking people for recommendations, right? This could be like past colleagues, this could be like past managers, or just like anybody that are mentors, like they could write a really nice recommendation, and a recruiter could go in and read it and be like, oh my God, that's the person that we want in this position, right? So I would just say, like, make sure like your LinkedIn is like up to par, and I'm happy to help anybody, because I always tell my friends, like, reach out to me if like you want me to look at your LinkedIn, I'll give you advice. So anybody on this call, like, feel free to like message me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to review it and let you know what you should like work on to get there. So
Yeah, and Melisa, and just how you said that, you get Googled, and then hiring managers Google people, and it's going to produce a bias against them if there's things there that maybe don't agree with that person. But you can do the same thing with LinkedIn, but paint the picture you want people to see. And I think that it's a perfect place to do it.
exactly.
So thank you. So let's go. So the next question: did you have a mentor or a sponsor as you were coming up as a workforce development professional? If so, briefly describe the experience and then the impact it made on your career. And let's start with you, Melissa.
Okay. Yeah. So I definitely have a mentor. When I was in the banking world, I was a teller, and I had an assistant manager that was just like kind of like my role model. I thought she was great, super professional, and like she really helped in my career. So I wanted to move up in the company right away. So after a year, I applied to be like a personal banker. So I was shut down like twice, but I didn't let that bring me down. I'm like, I really, want to be a banker. So I talked to my mentor about it, which was my assistant manager, Alicia. So I'm like, oh, what's your advice? Like, she's like, oh, don't give up, like, keep pushing. I see a lot of potential in you, So then she actually ended up becoming a bank manager. So she had an opening at her branch, and she hired me. She always believed in me. So like, she's just been like somebody that I look up to. So anytime I make like a career move, I always like reach out to her for advice, because I've known her for years now, and we like built like a strong relationship. So I think having a mentor is super important. It could even be like a friend or family member, because I have a lot of friends and like family that, they know I'm like in talent acquisition, so they always want to reach out to me for like any advice when it comes to like a job search or like resumes or like LinkedIn. So I'm always happy to help people. But I think your mentor can literally be anybody, even if you like look up to somebody. Like, let's say I'm interested in like working at Google, I could build a relationship with a recruiter at Google, right? And then that could be like my mentor too. And don't be afraid to ask anybody that you don't know to be a mentor, because I feel like it's kind of a privilege. And like, if somebody asks like me to be a mentor, I would be like really excited about that. Like, they see potential in me. They see that I could be a role model, so I'm always going to be willing to help. So I would just say like having a mentor is really important, and it could really be anybody. But don't be afraid to have multiple mentors, and just to reach out to somebody that you really look up to and like want more information about. I'm sure they're going to be more than happy to mentor you.
Thank you, Melissa. Alberto.
Yeah, so you need both, right? You need mentors and a sponsor. Mentors are individuals that you could elicit advice from, right, to help guide you. However, a sponsor is someone who's going to actually advocate on your behalf, typically a senior level executive who's going to open doors for you. So I have one in mind. She's fantastic. Sponsor, Lourdes Diaz, former vice president of global diversity with Sodexo, former employer of mine. And I worked side by side with her for 4 years. She opened doors. Right? She opened doors for me. She recommended me for stretch projects, and that enabled me to gain more exposure to other senior executives in the enterprise. So mentors are great. Sponsors are even greater. They're both valuable, right? And it's actually even harder to find a sponsor, because it's based on how well you've been able to perform and demonstrated an ROI to that company or team, but definitely both.
Myriam.
I echo Alberto. I truly believe you should have a mentor and a sponsor. I've had mentors internally and externally. You can have so many mentors. I think having them internal is good too, because they understand the way to progress maybe within that organization. And then having someone outside really just help with your personal growth and your goals. And it's important, like I said, to have a sponsor because they do open doors, right? They will, support you and be an advocate for you. Obviously, you have to be your own advocate, but it's always good to have someone else who can advocate for you as well.
Thank you, Myriam. I always say that a sponsor is someone that's out there working for you when you're not in that same room. It's someone that gets to know you and gets to know your work ethic and who you are, but also gets to know the range of the things that you can do. And it's someone that's putting their name out there, right? Puts their name on the line out there for you. So very important.
Just to
Someone-
add to that, I think real
Right.
quick, just something that's culturally relevant for us. We should think as mentors, it just occurred to me, right? As compadres y comadres, and sponsors as madrinas y padrinos, right? Just an idea.
There you go. Boom. Thank you, Alberto. Samuel.
Yeah, Alberto dropping nuggets there of wisdom. I didn't grow up having a mentor or a sponsor early on in my career. And what I know now, right, having both a sponsor and a mentor, is that I could have taken so much advantage, and I could have had a lot of different opportunities maybe come my way had I known about that early on. So I love that we're bringing this topic, and I know that there are people who are early in their career, and a lot of the businesses that I started with were very small. So a lot of it really came down to, if I worked hard enough, I was going to get noticed. And because we were a small shop, people would be like, oh, wow, that was outstanding. I'm willing to help you. And I didn't realize that I was actually being coached or mentored at the time. And now when I think about it, I'm like, maybe I didn't think I had them, but I actually had people who were kind of driving me and helping me do that. But now that I know what I know now, it's definitely important having both sides, both perspectives, to be able to bring, whether it's internal advice or someone from an external facing company, organization, a competitor. Like it's all meaningful, because at the end of the day, there will be things that you are only focused on. And many of us may have a 1-year goal or a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, but these individuals can think ahead for us, and they're not in the details that you and I are, and they're thinking ahead, and maybe they've gone through that as well. So something that I didn't have early on, wish I pushed for it. And then once I start to realize that the power is unlimited in it. And I had started building a lot of different, mentors and now sponsors.
Yeah. And like you said, that someone could probably see something about you that you don't see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this person would be perfect for this position because, and so, yeah, we never know how valuable they are until they step in and they work their magic. And then it's like, wow. And then you feel like the responsibility of being able to do that for someone else, right? Because someone did it for you. So it's always paying it forward. So next question. Now is a great time to rekindle former contacts. Drop them a note and ask them if they would like to stay in touch and perhaps hop on a Zoom call. Is it appropriate to ask for a job search favor, especially if you've dropped out of sight for a few years? Samuel.
That's a good one, right? So aside from maybe you haven't spoken to this person in a really long time, I mean, you lead with as transparent as you could but possibly be, right? I think there's nothing wrong with just putting it out there. It's been a while since we've last chatted, but I hope things are going well. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be like, how dare you, shunned completely. Like, I don't think anyone's doing that, right? At least now too, like people are so willing to help. But if you are going to do that, when I started to think about this is, how do you make it as easy as possible for the other person on the other side to help you as quickly, as smoothest as possible? And a lot of it just has to do with, are you putting the burden on them? Is it just like, can you do this for me and you go and do that work? and that person's like, sure, I'll do that. And now they're, you know, maybe they've gotten 2 or 3 of these requests, and now they're just like, oh man, like I get it. You know, I work at this company and here's what I'm going to do. I would say like give them time back, but allow them to do that request for you. And some of the things that I've done is like as easy as like setting up a calendar invite, right? You know, pre-writing something that you would want them to send to somebody else, a ghost written message, anything like that. And you know, there are different tools, like Calendly is one of those tools out there where I can literally share my calendar and then have a direct link and say, hey, can we set up time to chat? And instead of going and flooding them with 5 different options, just say, here's a link to my calendar. Find the time that works best for you. Boom. It's as easy as, you know, something quick. Again, you don't want them to feel like they're taking on the burden. This should feel very much like, let's pick up where we left off, and you're not putting the burden on me. This is kind of like a two-way street that we're both meeting at. So that would be my take. Like preparation is key, right? So many times I've had people message me and then I'll say, you know what, this is awesome. Why don't you send me your resume? And then the response is, I got to work on it. So I'll hit you back up again. How about we do that first? And then, you know, because you want to be prepared. You want to show up prepared. So yeah, preparation.
And then sometimes you won't get that resume until 3 months later, in which case it's like, that window of opportunity, se cerró, it's closed.
Agree.
Just to chime in here, debemos de ser humildes. We must be humble, right? Lest we forget, again, orgullo at some point in time in our lives prevented us from reaching out for help. So think about how challenging it is for someone who has been out of sight, off the radar, probably because they've had to attend to familia, right? Don't forget, familia is a huge importance in our culture. So we tend to take care of family, and that means dropping out of the workforce, dropping off the radar. But the point here is be humble, help others whenever possible, but also measure, right? It's your decision. You got to gauge where you make investments. And I like to give people tasks. Like if you want me to put in some time, let's set up a virtual cafecito, right? We all like cafecitos, and get to, you know, reconnect, right? But then say, if you want a favor, I need something from you first, right? Show me where you are. Show me what you got. Let's see your resume, right? Because whenever you refer someone for someone, or you vouch or perform a favor, that entails a value, right? What are you getting in return? Knowing that you want to help that person develop. Also being cognizant of that very true fact in life, that person that you decide to help, right, out of a sense of humility and service, is going to be somewhere else. The world is small, and we shouldn't do anything in life because we seek to benefit from it. But that person who is out of a job now is going to be in a job soon, and they could work in your very company or work in your peer network, or one day be your boss. So be humble, right? Help others.
Awesome. Good words. Melisa.
Yeah, for this one, I would say, just like someone just said, do your research before you ask for a favor, and obviously be very personable with that message, because you also don't want to message somebody like, hey, I haven't heard from you in years. Can I put my name on your company's application as a reference, right? Because when you attach your name as a reference, like, I think that means a lot. You're basically vouching for this person that they're going to perform well, you know? So we get that a lot at my company because we get so many referrals. Like we give them bonuses for referrals, so we do definitely get a lot. But what we've seen is that like sometimes like they'll get a referral and then they message like recruiting like, hey, like I didn't want this person to write my name, but they did. But I can't tell you that they're going to perform well, you know? So it puts them in an awkward situation. So you have to be mindful of that. Like when you're asking somebody to like be like a company reference, like, you know, that kind of puts their name on the line. So you have to make sure that you come prepared and you kind of show them why you deserve to like have your name, like their name on it, you know? So like definitely be mindful of that, and just come prepared. I feel like people are more than willing to help you, especially these days. And like Alberto said, like you never know in the future, you might need a favor for them. So definitely like just be humble, and like I would just say just be personable and be prepared also, but don't be discouraged if they say, no, you can't put my name on the application, just because I don't know what you've done in years and I don't want to, you know, put my name on your application because I take that very serious. I would say don't get discouraged, and that just means like, you know, keep in contact with them, telling them why you deserve to like have their name on it, or like what they could do to improve their skills, right? So I would just say like just be mindful of that, because like I see that all the time in my company. Like people are like, oh no, I didn't want my name on this referral. Like I don't think they're gonna do well, you know. So you have to be careful of that too. You don't want somebody to put in like a bad word for you either, because obviously we're going to trust what our employees say as well. So I would say be super mindful of that.
Yeah, and also if someone says no, don't take it personal. I mean, it does sting when it happens, but again, you got to remember that there was a time gap there between when you would talk to this person and now. So and kind of back to what Alberto said, you never know, you just never know where people end up, right? But rekindle that connection where it's like mea culpa that I haven't kept in touch, but I'll make an effort so that now you know more about me and what I'm doing. So, but definitely not to take it personal. And Myriam.
I echo everyone. I think one main thing to think of is it doesn't hurt to ask, right? So just ask. And if not, then you move on to the next, right? So just be honest. And I think it's a good time now. You can always say happy holidays, checking in to see how you're doing. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, but also be genuine about it, right? Be authentic, because
Auténtico
you can be authentic about it.
or auténtica.
Or authentica, yes, but definitely be authentic about it. And I think people are understanding, right? And if there's a time to do it, it's now. It's now. Don't do it at the end of January and then in February, because then what's the occasion? Valentine's Day. So so maybe that's not the best time to do it. So right now, definitely do it. And kind of back to Melisa. And if they say no, then wish them a happy holiday, and then move on, and then move on and to your research and see who can help me out. So I want to finish off by asking each one of you, amid the gloomy news of COVID-19, the economy, racial tensions in America, how are you keeping positive? What words of encouragement can you share with our virtual audience? Samuel.
Yeah, I would say, obviously faith and family are probably the 2 most important things for me personally. Those things are the glue for me to kind of keep going and waking up and knowing that I have a purpose in life and following through with that purpose. And I've got a 2-year-old son, so he keeps us wide awake, and also it allows me, it's almost like my daily reminder, right? Like I'm working on his behalf so that he has a greater future. So that's just something that hits home for me, but it can be, a family member, a close partner or a relative or something. The other thing too is I think, you have to find like the simplicities in life that can just bring personal joy. And one of those for me, even more recently, has just been like plants and understanding plants overall. Like little propagation things, and I'll take, clippings from here, and those are just the simple things that make me happy. Coffee is one of those other things too. I've been like perfecting my coffee making skills, and I think that those are just the things that just would personally drive you, and it's real, right? It's real. So that's what's working for me at the moment.
Thank you, Samuel, and thank you for your participation. I really greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Myriam.
For me, it's yoga. I work out a lot. I love yoga and daily affirmations. I have a support system that we help each other. We make sure how we're doing. I have 3 kids. So they keep me very, very busy. They're all teens, so you could imagine. So really just staying positive, we're blessed, there's so much to be thankful for, and, just keep swimming, like I always say.
Great. Thank you, Myriam, for your insight and for your participation. Greatly appreciate it. Melisa.
Yeah, for me, I would definitely say like family, friends, definitely help motivate me. And like Myriam, I love working out too. So that's something that always motivates me, is going to the gym. And then when the gym was closed, I had to get creative, do like at home workouts, look at YouTube videos, Instagram videos. So just had to think outside the box. But I would definitely say like my advice is, to the audience today is like, don't give up. If you're looking for a job and you haven't found something, keep on searching. It's such a great time to like get a new job and start a new year fresh with a new company. So definitely keep on looking. And my company is definitely hiring. So if you're looking, reach out to me. I'm happy to like help you. But logistics is definitely a great industry to be in. Right now with COVID, we weren't really affected. So just do your research too, like throughout like this whole webinar, like definitely do your research and make sure it's a company that you see yourself working with for like long term, you know. But definitely a lot of companies are hiring. So just keep that in mind. Don't give up. I know it's hard times, but you know, just think of it as a fresh start and be positive.
Definitely. Thank you, Melissa. And like you said, don't give up, because even though it feels like the economy, may not be the best, but just how people are getting laid off, but there's also people that are leaving the workforce for whatever reason. So there's positions that are open, and there are companies that are hiring and actively hiring. They're just not taking resumes. They really do need to fill those positions. And again, they have their new budgets for the next year, so they want to fill those positions as they want to get someone in there as soon as possible. So, like you said, don't give up, but definitely do the work. Do the work. There's a way to split family time and also do the job search, but the job search is important because you're doing it for yourself and also for your family. So, thank you, Melissa. Greatly appreciate it. And Alberto.
Thank you.
Yeah, great comments made by my fellow colegos. I think of 3 words: esperanza, right? Hope is infinite, regardless of how dire things may be, personally or professionally. Tenemos que tener esperanza. Esperanza, hope, is connected to poder, right? So podemos rezar a Dios, right? If whoever we respect up there or anywhere. We have family and friends, right? But it's going to come down to our individual poder, right? The capacity to do. So, I'll use myself as an example. I early on in the pandemic, I needed a haircut, and 2-3 weeks, passed, a month passed, and I couldn't do it anymore. Like, no, I even tried to pay my barber if I could go to his house or pay him for a private session. Said no, my familia, right? Más importante que el trabajo. Truth and point. Watch YouTube videos and build my capacidad, right, to learn something new. So use this time, right, especially now over the holidays, this downtime, if you will, to learn something new, right? Whether it's learning how to build a fence or cut your hair, we have the capacity to do, and that's directly connected to poder y la esperanza. So do.
Thank you, Alberto. Appreciate it again, and thank you for all you do for the city of Chicago and connecting people to jobs and opportunities. So it's very much needed. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. I want to thank our panelists for sharing their insight and their wisdom, and I want to thank you for being with us during this pandemic. And we made it to webinar 30. So I didn't know if we were going to be able to do that, but we did. So a great part to you. So we have a lot of new things that are coming in the pipeline for 2021. So we're not stopping. We're only growing, and thankfully, because of if there's one bright light to this pandemic, is that now we have an audience out in the East and the West Coast that has been amplified, and we have new corporate partners that are coming on board, including the ones that we had. Everyone from last year has signed up to this year. So if that's a testament that companies are moving on, that are moving forward, that they're hiring and they're being optimistic and looking to the future, it's that because I'm experiencing it for myself. So I know that it is happening. And so if you are looking for a new job or new career, you're going to make a pivot, don't give up, be persistent, do the homework, but also take some time, reflect, and let's all be grateful for having our health. And thank you so much, everyone. Be careful, be safe. Take care.